Every week, former WWE creative writer Kevin Eck will run down his burning thoughts from Raw, SmackDown Live, and the rest of the pro wrestling world. Raw thoughts. Am I the only one who thought the segment with Bobby Lashley's sisters was embarrassingly bad? I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one. Honestly, if there's anyone reading this who was entertained by that segment, I'd love to hear from you. Vince McMahon and his sycophants excluded, of course. I was pretty sure this segment was going to be a train wreck as soon as it was announced, but sometimes train wreck segments can be so bad they're good. This wasn't one of those. On the bright side, as bad as the segment was, it still didn't top last year's Bayley, This Is Your Life piece of wrestle crap with Alexa Bliss. Thought Alexa Bliss backstage promo was horribly written? Bliss referenced the Visigoths and Romans while discussing her upcoming match with Ember Moon. I could buy a promo like that coming from someone such as Matt Hardy or Bray Wyatt, but it was completely out of character for Bliss, and as questionable as her latest enhancements. More, getting a grip, recapping the biggest stories this week in pro wrestling, wondered why Nia Jax gave Stephanie McMahon a big hug during the contract signing? Jax is a babyface, Stephanie is a despicable, disingenuous, duplicitous heel. There's no real heat between Jax and Stephanie, so it would have been okay for Jax to shake her hand as a show of respect for Stephanie's position as Raw commissioner, but the big smile and the embrace was a disconnect. Didn't realize there was a perception that Nia Jax is lazy. When Stephanie McMahon tried to stir the pot between Jax and Ronda Rousey by suggesting that Rousey thinks Jax is lazy, Jax got angry and said she's sick of hearing that she's lazy. Really? Who was saying that? That narrative came out of nowhere. Was pleasantly surprised that Seth Rollins finally saved Roman Reigns from a beatdown. Rollins remaining backstage while his Shield brother for life repeatedly was being destroyed recently never made any sense. It would have served Rollins right if Reigns had punched him in the mouth and said, "Where were you the previous 20 times I was getting my ass kicked?" Thinks Jason Jordan is going to help former tag team partner Chad Gable take on Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler upon his return. Gable lost to Ziggler on Raw, and then was attacked by McIntyre afterward. Jordan, who used to team with Gable as American Alpha, has been out of action for nearly 4 months after undergoing neck surgery, and his return is believed to be imminent. Reuniting with Gable would be a logical way to bring him back. Before his injury, Jordan was showing a lot of potential as a disingenuous babyface and the kayfabe son of Kurt Angle. I could see him teaming with Gable, then turning on him. After that, a feud with another former tag team partner, Intercontinental Champion Seth Rollins, would take Jordan to the next level, where he's destined to be. SmackDown Live thoughts. Am I the only one who doesn't understand why Shinsuke Nakamura chose the last man standing stipulation for his match against WWE Champion AJ Styles at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view? A last man standing match makes perfect sense from a storyline standpoint because the match between Nakamura and Styles at Backlash earlier this month ended when neither man could answer the 10 count, but how does the stipulation benefit Nakamura? Nakamura could have chosen any stipulation, and as a heel, why wouldn't he pick something that would put Styles at a distinct disadvantage, such as the title being allowed to change hands if Styles gets counted out or disqualified? It would have made more sense for SmackDown general manager Paige to just make the last man standing match herself, but WWE decided to forego logic so that it could have Styles vs Nakamura on TV, with the winner getting to pick the stipulation in an effort to pop a rating. It didn't work, by the way. More, all-time great wrestling choke artists, thinks next week's Money in the Bank qualifying match between Daniel Bryan and Samoa Joe is going to break the internet. In all seriousness, it is pretty cool that the two former Raw World Champions are going to be facing each other on WWE TV in 2018. As for the finish, am I the only one who thinks it's obvious that Big Cass is going to interfere and cost Bryan the match? Is hopeful that the powers that be in WWE are finally turning Rusev and Aiden English and Lana babyface. Lana and English were total babyfaces for her Money in the Bank qualifying match against Billie Kay, and the crowd was firmly behind her. Rusev, who wasn't there, was shown cutting a light-hearted promo on Twitter, putting over his wife and referring to her opponent as the Australian lady with weird accent. I'd like to believe Vince McMahon has finally listened to the audience, which has been cheering for Rusev for some time. Now if only McMahon wasn't tone-deaf when it comes to Roman Reigns. Was thrilled that Lana won her Money in the Bank qualifying match. I really don't care how limited Lana is in the ring. The more I get to see of the ravishing Russian, the happier it makes me. Lana is the best. Lana no. 1. Cringes every time I see microphones in the Iconics' hands. At some point the powers that be have to realize that Peyton Royce and Billie Kay are getting go-away heat, right? Hated to see the Usos lose to Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I understand why Gallows and Anderson won the No. 1 Contenders match. We've already seen the Usos vs. SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Bludgeon Brothers, multiple times, and Gallows and Anderson are next in line to face, and most likely lose to, Luke Harper and Eric Rowan. That said, it's a shame that the talented Usos have been so marginalized as of late. Rather than giving a boost to Gallows and Anderson, speaking of teams that have been marginalized, I think the result just further damaged the Usos. Follow SN Wrestling on Twitter for the latest news, notes and analysis. Thought Xavier Woods had a great comeback to the claim that Miz wasn't prepared to have a match against Big E. Woods astutely pointed out that Miz was in his gear for Miz TV, so therefore he indeed was prepared to wrestle. I must say it certainly is an amazing coincidence that Miz usually is in his gear instead of a suit when a promo segment leads to an impromptu match. This would never happen if Jim Cornette was in charge. Thinks the Miz raised his cool quotient by not knowing what Fortnite is? Miz flubbed the name of the popular video game during the Miz TV segment with New Day, proving that he isn't a gamer and therefore is not a nerd.